Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push. We are here for a Monday Night Raw recap, and this one is a special one taking place on March 31st, 2025, the second show at the O2 Arena in London. And yours truly, KP, was able to attend this one live. So this should be a fun episode. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. The show kicks off with John Cena. I believe this is the third time he's kicked off the show. I think out of 3 or 4 weeks, I can't recall, but definitely something we've seen before. Of course, I think the UK crowd was even a little hotter than they were on Friday, and they certainly let Cena, know that he was not liked. Before Cena can even pick up the mic, he's joined by Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes comes in and basically says, "Let me help you do your job." In terms of him being a heel, and drops this entire promo. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go into all the details, but the number of lines that we will quote and repeat from this promo um, are high. There's a lot of them. This was, I think, kind of carrying over the torch from where we ended up, or we ended off from SmackDown, and the Seth, Roman, and Punk promo. I think got lit a fire under a lot of these other ones, especially on the men's side. Um, this one took that torch and ran with it, and what was by far the best promo of this feud so far, and what kind of felt like a paint by numbers so far. And I think WWE knew that, and it just felt like they knew that these two guys were going to be huge no matter what, but didn't feel like they were putting in a ton of effort. This promo changed everything and was an absolutely incredible way to kick off Raw, and the UK crowd ate it up, and they deserved it. They deserved it. The noise they made, and every aspect of this promo was incredible. But yeah, KP being there in person, I will let him share his favorite parts of that. But this was a great way to start off Raw. Then we get the New Day, and they surprised to everyone. At least to me, I didn't know this was happening. We get the New Catch Republic. Obviously, local boys there and reuniting. Tyler Bate, I believe, has not been seen since July of last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's what I heard. Um, but yeah, I was a bit shocked that the crowd didn't seem, and maybe it just didn't show through the TV, but it didn't feel like they got as big as reaction as I would have thought they would have. But regardless, the match was surprisingly short. I felt like, and even more surprising, at least at first, New Day getting the win here over New Catch Republic, and after the match, they are walking backstage and they get interviewed, and they're basically New Day demanding a title shot, which I think is absolutely deserved, especially if they keep winning. They've been booked pretty strong lately. As the after well as they're being or after they're being interviewed, the War Raiders kind of make their entrance to get a face to face with the New Day, and that's that. It's a bit of a awkward exchange there for them to come out, and maybe they did something live, but they went to commercial break after that, so that was the end of that segment. But then at first, yeah, like I said, at first I thought the New Day winning there was a bit of a surprise, or at least how quick it seemed to happen. But maybe if the plans aren't to keep Pete and Tyler together, and this was just win in Rome scenario, I think that's fine. New Day obviously getting quite a bit of momentum, so no issues with that. If that is the direction they're going. Next, we get Jimmy Uso versus Gunther. Jimmy is kind of showing the goal of this match was to show Jay that yes, Gunther is a force to be reckoned with, but he's still human after all. And Jimmy's going to go down there and he's going to prove that. This is a pretty dominant performance, as it should be. Gunther winning the match. And afterwards, Jay kind of comes down to try to help him. but Gunther very much gets the upper hand in this entire thing. What ends up being Jay being zip tied to the ropes while Gunther just gives Jimmy a beating of a lifetime. This was probably the worst beatdown I've seen. I'm struggling to remember the last time I saw one quite this brutal in terms of how it appeared. Um, but yeah, this was another great, incredible segment, and this again, mentioning earlier the fire that maybe we lit under some of these feuds on Friday. This was another feud that very much needed some new direction, and with this, I felt like Gunther rubbing the blood on him, and I even put some blood in his mouth, which is disgusting. And the crowd reaction to that was warranted, and but this makes the feud feel really personal now, and I felt like it added a new tone to it. Back when we panned it over to commentary, they were very serious as well. So yeah, between this and the John and Cody one, it felt like really getting some momentum behind those feuds that were not doing anything special as of late. So this was great to see, and yeah, this was a segment that will live on, and I think we'll see this one play out over the next couple weeks, and Jay has an opportunity to really step up his game now as well. So, KP, live in the UK for this one, what were your thoughts on the opening promo and the Jimmy and Gunther segment with Jay helplessly waiting just within arm's distance? Incredible way to start off Raw. What were your thoughts on it live, and
Yeah, so as you've mentioned, I was able to be live in living color for this one. It was basically what we'd expected from the very get going. We wanted Cena to kick off the show. That's exactly what he did, and we made it known how how much we liked and disliked him at the same time. It seemed to be quite an even crowd at the start, and then it sort of like shifted along as the promo went along. I've got a few notes here regarding everything that happened. For my favorite parts of this opening segment. It was one of the best promo segments I think I've seen in a very, very, very long time. I'm struggling to remember the last one I think that was of this caliber. Both men absolutely firing from all cylinders. Both men, just shooting back at each other. There was no sort of like weak point to this. Like I've said in the past that Cody's mic work has left a bit to be desired. I think could be improved, and I don't think he really sort of like adjusts to his opponent too often. This was absolutely not that case. I felt like Cena came out the gates really, really hot and strong. Cody fired back equally as hot and strong. He didn't look, neither man looked weak in this position in terms of like what they delivered on the mic. Both were absolutely as incredible as each other. I picked out a few lines here regarding what was said. I'll pick out my best one. So basically, starting this off, Cena would. This is one of my favorite lines. He would deny burying talent. It's been said about for years. John Cena buries talent. He doesn't let anybody go over. And then there was a point in his career, the last like 2-3 years, where he sort of like went against that. But let's go back to when he was considered to be burying talent non-stop. Cena would deny that he buried any talent at all, before claiming that he is talent, and that actually he buried mediocrity. I thought it was a really nice way to kick off the segment between these two. Just sort of like Cena really embracing the heel vision that he's got at the moment. He go on to claim that Cody's ego outmatches his ability, and that all he's done is ride the coattail of John Cena himself. And that actually Cody is just his chauffeur. I mean, the way Cody dresses, I guess you can kind of see what Cena's saying there. But the fact that he actually called him a chauffeur, not once but twice, back to back, was quite hilarious. He go on to claim that Cody's too rehearsed and lazy, and that relies on the crowd singing his name to get by. You go on then to call Cody a paint-by-numbers nepo baby before saying that he's so into himself that he even got his gimmick tattooed on himself, and that he's just an errand boy that got lucky. I mean, if you come out, swinging like that, how is somebody meant to respond and stay on the same level as you? But that's the most interesting part of this, because Cody did exactly that. He would go on to admit that he was chosen. by the fans, before then saying that Cena was chosen by some guy in an office that we don't talk about anymore. Obviously, everybody knows who we're talking about when we say something like that. He would go on to claim that John is a company creation before saying that he's got more D in his promo than in his jorts. I don't think you really need to read the lines, read between the lines there to realize what Cody meant by that. Coming out just as strong as Cena, like I said. Cody would continue, though. He claimed that Cena disenfranchised fans, which made leaving WWE easy for him, before telling him that John shouldn't act like when he left for Hollywood, he didn't leave WWE in a better place than when he found it. Cody would ask Cena, out of the two of them, which one sold out to The Rock. And then finally would say that John is still his hero, but he's also a POS. It was quite the response from Cody Rhodes. You know, like there were some moments there where the fans, like myself included, you know, popped because of what he said back to John. I'm very much Team Cena regarding this, but I felt myself, you know, enjoying some of the stuff that Cody was saying. It just sort of like really brought to life what exactly went down here. In I guess the first half of the segment. Cena would fight back. He'd respond by saying that whenever he's in the ring, it's a challenge to anyone to step up and prove that they're worthy of putting him in the ground. But nobody was worthy of that, so John just decided to do it himself. He then claimed that Cody had to leave because the best of Cody couldn't wipe Cena's egg. He would then also say that he makes empires for billionaires, whilst Cody, he just steals money from kids. It was quite interesting seeing how vicious John Cena can be on the mic. We haven't seen this in a very, very long time. Cena's always been really good on the microphone, but in terms of like actually, you know, getting really heated with somebody, you know, getting very aggressive, assertive, this was like peak Cena on the mic, I want to say. And we've seen some top quality promos over the years, but this was a really, really, really good one for myself. Cody would then fire back once more, reminding Cena that an audience has never once chanted at him, saying that he can't wrestle. That sort of Cena into, getting back into the ring, because Cena was leaving the ring at this point when Cody said that. So Cena would get back in. He would he was sort of like make it look like he's going to attack Cody before saying, no, not this time. As he was walking away, he'd then go for a cheap shot on Cody, which Rhodes saw coming, and would deliver a crossroad to Cena, laying him out to end the segment. It was a wild promo segment to begin Monday Night Raw. We were all loving it in the audience. Hoping that portrayed well on the broadcast. But yeah, there were some absolutely quality lines in here. I think I've probably gone into a bit too much detail there, but in terms of everything that went down, it's just an absolutely brilliant, top quality segment from two men who literally fired back and forth. It was fantastic. Then we go into that tag team match between New Day and the New Catch Republic. We didn't see it coming either. We had no idea this was taking place. So when Adam Pearce announced that the New Catch Republic would come on out and that Tyler Bate had returned, we were just as shocked as anybody else. So this wasn't new. This wasn't like something that we had already knew was going to happen. But we did show a bit of love towards Tyler Bate. I don't know how well it was received. It felt quite loud in the arena to begin with. And there were a lot of chants throughout the matchup, but you never know what actually gets picked up on the broadcast. But the match itself was decent enough. I thought that Tyler Bate looked good for coming back into play. Pete Dunne been away for a little bit. I'm guessing he's now a face again. Make that of what you will. But then with the New Day been on such a roll recently, I do feel like them losing would have been a bit of a slap in the face. I guess derail of momentum. And I feel like even though Tyler Bate returning, I feel like this probably was the correct call. WWE loves booking home talent to lose in their hometown, so it's just it was just the staple of the booking, right? But New Day, to be fair to them, they've been on a great run recently. They've been killing it in their new attitude, and bringing out the the War Raiders coming out afterwards to have a little bit of a stare down with the New Day. I can tell you right now, nothing happened after that. What you saw on the cameras literally was everything. So once the feed cut, these guys went backstage, and that was that. But yeah, looking forward to the eventual title match that will take place between New Day and War Raiders. New Day just continuing to smash it as they have been recently. Then that beatdown, wow. Before we get to that, Gunter defeating Jimmy Uso was expected. Obviously you would see that coming a mile off. He's not going to lose to Jimmy before going into a WrestleMania match against Jey Uso. What I will say here is the match between Gunter and Jimmy was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It was quite entertaining. I think Jimmy really showed up here. Like in terms of the wrestling quality of his slightly younger brother, that's been heavily criticized recently. I feel like Jimmy is a better in-ring performer than Jay, and he showed it in this match. Like there were moves that I don't think I've seen Jay perform, and he just looked like an overall like a lot more well-rounded performer in that ring. And obviously with someone like Gunter, I'm not saying that Jimmy is is near Gunter's quality because he's not, but I just felt like Jimmy offered a bit more than what I've been seeing in Jay in recent weeks, and that was quite interesting. I think that's something to certainly note. I reckon. But yeah, Gunter looks strong as ever. Had moments of momentum for Jimmy Uso, but ultimately Gunter really dominated the matchup for the most part. And once he got the victory, eventually, by putting Jimmy to sleep, Jay comes out, like you said. They go into a little bit of protection type thing, trying to help Jimmy go back, get to backstage. Gunter comes down, absolutely slaughters Jimmy Uso. It was savage to watch. The spit of the blood, that was insane. We were all gasping at that point. But yeah, I mean, just watch that. It was a bit of an eerie, sort of vibe in the arena at this point. It was a cool sort of vibe because obviously, we were all just watching it take place. We're like, wow, like this is actually really, really, really brutal and gruesome. And yeah, the blood all over Jimmy's face just sort of like helped, I think, go along with how this segment was meant to be perceived. And it's just going to go into that next stage. But the feud needed this, like you said, it needed like a next little bit of progression. I'm glad they went down this road because now we've got a little bit of an extra depth just to sort of like look into it a little bit more, which is good. It adds a bit more interest, which is what we need. But yeah, wow, what a segment. What a start to Raw, in all honesty. These these three segments, they really killed it to begin with. Cody and Cena just tearing each other apart on the mic and having a great job at it. The tag team match, New Day continued to roll. And yeah, Gunter just destroying Jimmy whilst Jay had to watch helplessly being zip tied to the ropes. It was a pretty great start. I can't lie. I definitely enjoyed it there in person. So yeah, it was top notch.
What an incredible role to be able to say that you saw between the promo between Cody and Cena and the Gunther and Jimmy. But for the record, and let the record show, I do agree. I think Jimmy is slightly better than Jay. Just feels like he had more passion in his matches and isn't so much paint by numbers in every match. But with that being said, in between the Jimmy and Gunther match and the tag match, the broadcast announces that as I think we kind of all figured, that the Seth Roman and Punk will be on Saturday. Um, so I think that's the right decision. I have seen some speculation that possibly the favor from Punk is that if he wins this match, maybe he'll be included in something on Sunday. We shall wait and see what happened with that. It does feel a little similar to what they did last year for Mania, with Cody having to win. But yeah, we'll wait and see on that one. Before we get into the tag match, we have a backstage segment with Finn, Dom, and Carlito of the Judgment Day. Liv comes in to say, "I'm glad you all buried the hatchet. Everyone appears to be looking to be getting along, and all seems well." Until Finn says something to Raquel about, apologies that she lost her match last week against Lyra, but don't worry about it. I'll bring it home soon. So after gentlemen leave, Liv basically says that they need to do something about Lyra and Bailey. And then later on, and just concluding it here, because Lyra is seen in the backstage interview, she announces that she's going to challenge Bailey because she's the one person that has defeated her since winning that title. And UK crowd, I'm sorry, at least on air, we did not get Bailey, but it did not stop them from chanting for their favorites while this interview was wrapping up. The match Penta and Braun Breaker versus the Judgment Day's Finn and Dom, accompanied by Carlito. Yeah, I think this ended pretty much how everyone thought in terms of who would get the win. Obviously, the challengers weren't going to win over the Judgment Day. It's been together for quite some time, through thick and thin. So it wouldn't have made any sense for the Judgment Day to lose here. Finn gets the win after holding back Penta, letting him go, and then causing Breaker to accidentally spear Penta, and Finn gets cleans it up with the coup de grace and gets the win. So I think this was a great match in terms of continuing this feud and what we believe will be these contenders here for the Intercontinental title. I think for me, the real surprise was that Finn won a match. And even more surprising is he did it by beating Penta, who's been red hot. So, yeah, no issues with this segment at all. I think this is just continuing what we believe we're getting with Braun's IC title. We did get AJ Styles and Logan Paul promo. And cheers to the UK crowd because they put Logan Paul in his place, telling him to shut the F up. And I, 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 I think the entire time during this promo, UK crowd was giving him their opinion on him, which I think should be done. Logan clearly has what it takes to be a mainstay in WWE. Obviously, his in real life character leaves a bit to be desired. So I think it makes for great heel heat when the crowd uh, gives it to him. So I felt like this was just that. In terms of what they ran down, Logan basically said that he forgives him for what he did to him at Madison Square Garden. And then AJ says, "Don't write checks you can't cash." But Logan Paul ends up standing tall here with the pulverizer. And yeah, nothing groundbreaking here. I felt like we were just reminding everyone of this feud upcoming. And although I will say Logan Paul's move is pretty impressive, looks pretty good. Um, and him standing tall here obviously increased the booze. And I like this. I like this match being set up for Mania. So with that, after all this, somehow still have to have a main event, and the main event has Rhea versus Io with a special guest referee of Bianca, which, by the way, the commentators announced that she made this gear or worked on this gear herself, and I have to say that was one of the best referee gears I think I've ever seen. So this was a great start to that. As for the match, it's pretty entertaining, pretty competitive. Crowd being super into it, and I love the slow burn with Bianca slowly getting hit each time, kind of taking it more and more offensively as the match goes on. I felt like each woman kind of had their moment, but at the end, Rhea ends up standing tall after Bianca has had enough with the attacking the ref and ends up calling the match on a double DQ. So I think this very much maybe been expected, but still didn't take away from the entertainment. The writing seems to be on the wall in terms of Rhea being added to this match. It's just a matter of how they will do it. So, with that, KP, what were your thoughts on these four or three matches and promos here? Did everything come across as I kind of mentioned there at the O2 Arena?
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. Don't really have anything like in terms of like a disagreement to sort of like go along with you there. But yeah, let's go into the tag team match to start with. Judgment Day. Surprised at Penta taking the pinfall here, I guess. But how it played out, I guess it made perfect sense. You know, you take a spear from Braun Breaker, and then obviously a coup de grace from Finn Balor. You're not gonna look weak, are you? So I guess really, if you break it down, you look into it deep like that, yeah, there's no real problem here with Penta being pinned for the first time since joining WWE. He still looks strong. He's been absolutely killing it. And yeah, you know, a surprising win for Judgment Day in terms of like getting that victory over Penta. But this opens up the Intercontinental Championship picture, which is ideally what we wanted from this. That's the ultimate goal, to really broaden how this is going to be looking. Is it going to be, Finn against Braun again? I don't know. Is it going to be a triple threat? I don't know. Is it going to be a fatal four-way with Dom involved? Again, I'm not sure. But it seems like there are a lot of factors in here that could sort of go into this Intercontinental Championship match, and it makes it more interesting, it makes it more captivating. So I'm kind of interested to see how it's going to play out. But yeah, the match I think ultimately did what it needed to. It filled its purpose, and it now maybe raises a couple of questions as well as opens up some possibilities regarding the Intercontinental Championship match. But either way, it should be really, really cool. Looking forward to seeing what happens eventually. But yeah, this was good. It was a good enough matchup to really broaden those horizons. Like I said, AJ Styles and Logan Paul. So I'll be honest here. When I was in the arena and AJ Styles came out, it was advertised as, I think, Logan calling out AJ, but obviously they flipped it and AJ called out Logan. So we were ready to hear what AJ said, but obviously it was so quick for AJ to call out Logan Paul that we didn't really get a chance. When Logan Paul came out and obviously took to the mic, I don't think I heard a word of what Logan said during that live promo. Maybe the odd word or two, but I couldn't make out a sentence, that's for sure. So I had no idea what actually was said from Logan Paul. All I heard was really what Styles said, and even still, for certain times, couldn't hear what Styles said at every single point. But I had to go back and watch it this morning and basically just recap on everything that went down. And in terms of what actually took place between these two men in the ring, I thought it did its job. I think it was a nice way of basically just building these two up and setting that match for WrestleMania in place and allowing it to sort of like be built up into perception here. So AJ Styles and Logan Paul clearly don't like each other. I quite liked how it sort of like got turned on its head. So obviously the crowd, myself included, absolutely hated Logan Paul and wanted to boo him out of the building. But he ultimately had the last laugh, and I think that sort of plays into the story here. It just adds ultimate heat to Logan Paul, builds him up into a much better position going into this feud. Not many people like him anyway, but this sort of like cemented how hated he really is. He's been getting boos basically wherever he goes. This was sort of like added to it and just like continued that form. But yeah, it was. I think his new finish just sort of like added to it as well. His old one was pretty poor, but the pulverizer, I really like the look of it. It's a nice move. It looks impactful, and it's a bit show-offy in terms of like actually being a finishing move, which is ultimately you're ticking 3 boxes. That's what you want. But Styles being in control on the outside, Logan going down to the the heel tactics and using the rope, turning things around, laying out AJ Styles in front of a crowd that's absolutely booing him to high hell, I thought was a great way to end the segment. Obviously, Styles is my preferred option here of the two, but setting out the match for WrestleMania, making that happen, it's gonna be a quality match, I would assume. So both men are very, very talented in the ring. Someone of Logan's experience, we say it every single time, but he's very, very good. And obviously one of the veterans of the business, AJ Styles, it can ultimately only ever be a good match. So I'm really looking forward to when it takes place. But this was a good segment, and yeah, I'm glad that the boos sort of like got picked up on the cameras to the level that they were. Then the main event. I'll be honest here, this is a tale of two halves. I quite liked how the match was going down and taking place to begin with. Maybe thought we were a little bit quiet as a crowd, for parts of this matchup, but I think may have been caught up on the cameras. I'm not too sure. But I thought it was a good contest for about 60-70% of the matchup. And then obviously when you could see how it was going, with both women colliding with Bianca Belair and, Rhea, I think at one point actually physically attacked Bianca. For them then to have the DQ, the double DQ, it makes sense in terms of the booking of the matchup, but I'm not particularly happy with how that took place. So like, I don't know, I feel like it just left something to be desired. I wasn't sure if it was the absolutely correct way of booking out the remainder of the contest, but hey ho, it is what it is. We're building towards that triple threat bit by bit, and they don't want to rush it. I get that, but I don't know. I felt like the way they did it just seemed to be completely just flat as anything. Like when it happened, you see Bianca rolling out the ring and saying like, "Nah, this is it, it's over." Calling for the double DQ. I don't know. It just felt a little bit, yeah, just not quite what we wanted and expected. even I'm not even saying that we have to have a legit winner, but just like the way that took place, it just really felt flat, and I think we kind of showed that when that call was made. Um, Ultimately, I'm looking forward to when these three meet at WrestleMania, and obviously when that triple threat is officially announced. Adam Pearce needs to do his job and to get it just basically booked in already and penciled in. But the booking is long. I get it. You got to stretch things out. You got to try and make it last, and we'll have to wait and see when that does eventually happen. But yeah, it was a good contest between Io and Rhea. I enjoyed it for the most part, but just that finish it just wasn't quite right for me. But yeah, Bianca's gear, she makes all of her gear. She always does a great job. Um, Always puts a lot of effort into it, and ultimately, looking at the gear here again, she did exactly that this time as well. But yeah, I think there was a little bit of British chance towards the referee in this one. They're being very passionate about football and the referee stick that they get over here. I think that sort of like transpired a little bit over onto this. Not sure if the cameras picked it all up, but it was fun. It was a good, it was a fun main event to enjoy and to watch up until the finish for sure. Overall with Raw, being there, it was a hell of a lot of fun for me. Probably maybe adds to the quality of the show in parts. But I did think, regardless of that, it was a really solid show. We had the really good promo at the start of the show. We had some good quality matches throughout the show taking place, and then some story progression. That's ultimately what we're doing here going into WrestleMania season. So yeah, I thought it was a very, very good show. I'd probably give this one a 9 out of 10. I think there were a couple of glaring things that could have been fixed and could have been altered perhaps. But in terms of that, no, it was a very, very solid and consistent show throughout the most part. And yeah, like I say, building things towards WrestleMania is what we want, and I feel like this show did exactly that. Rhea just completely dominating and standing tall at the end of Raw as well. I feel like she's getting a lot of good sort of like good comeuppance here at the end of these particular segments between Bianca and Io recently. Interesting to see if that continues going forward. But yeah, I think maybe just that and the fact that it was a DQ finish were my major downfalls for the night. But besides that, it was tremendous. Really, really good episode of Raw. Glad I was there in attendance, and yeah, had a whale of a time watching it.
I am glad to hear that you enjoyed yourself, and I think we did at home as well. Um, yeah, this is after this we have two Raws left, which is just mentioned in the last podcast having three left, and for some reason that feels like a lot longer than saying you have two left. I don't know what that is, but only two Raws left. So yeah, I think we made a good stride, and like I said before, I think Raw did a good job of picking up where SmackDown left off. Ramped up the heat for Cody Cena and Jay Gunther, which were both very much needed. And yeah, as I mentioned before, I think the build to Mania has been different this year, with some highs and some lows. But this definitely, with SmackDown's ending and this Raw in whole, feels like we're back on the right path. So yeah, I think just in terms of how long the build has been, some of these rivalries have suffered. But in overall, I felt like the Raw was pretty entertaining. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, as you noted, I think the SmackDown, or excuse me, the main event, it was a bit awkward in terms of ending, but in terms of what we were expecting, I think obviously, you know, it was booked correctly, so it helps continue the storyline, and we'll wait and see how Rhea ends up getting involved. But yeah, a great Raw, and definitely a change of pace over what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Um, with that, this has been another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. And please let us know in the comments below if you like what we're putting out, or have suggestions for improvement. We're always happy to hear constructive criticism. So, with that, we will be back with an NXT recap probably tomorrow. And yeah, until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.